All right, so, oh, good. Oh, I see. Okay. Now I see Hans here. Hans, do you have any questions or anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, Mr. Sorensen, just to tag and extend on that last discussion about the capstones being available for us to check out, is that password protected on the website?
I put a link in the chat. I don't know if you're able to see it or if you're on a computer. It's a Google Drive link. It's not password protected, but you may have to ask for permission, which I will grant you.
Okay, that'd be fantastic. I apologize. I'm calling from my phone out on the road right now, so I don't have all the Zoom functionality and access to the chats right now.
I think
but yeah, definitely
sounded a little more like you were on the road or something. So when you get to a computer, though, go ahead. It'll be on our website. If you navigate to the AESE section, there's the curriculum. You'll click on the curriculum tab, and there'll be a hyperlink projects that will link directly to that drive for permission.
Thanks, Stacy. That's good.
Great. That sounds good. And then I was also wondering, is there any recommended reading lists or any libraries that you recommend that we study up on beforehand?
I need to think more about that. I do give books. We do give books every quarter, and those are the ones that are to be read, and we provide the books. You don't have to buy them, but I probably should. I haven't done it, so I can't just give it to you now, but I probably should. I should go back and look at our list of books, and I can make that available on the MAS website for ASE, if that would be useful.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd appreciate it. And then last question, if you have a second, was just
sure.
Regarding students that aren't successful in the program. I'm curious, what are the most common pitfalls that incoming students should be looking out for?
I just think, I mean, we basically don't have people who have dropped out of the program or have failed. So that's a little bit of a tricky question. But people are the key thing. If people, there are 9 academic classes during the course of the year, 3 per quarter, and each one is basically, they're done in a sequential manner. So for example, in the fall quarter, we'll have the first class, well, whatever it's called, that goes for Friday, Saturday, all day, 8 to 5 on Friday, Saturday, have a week off, come back for the next Friday, Saturday, spend 2 days, and then they're done. Okay. And they're given an individual exam that's just due in 2 weeks from there. And then during that first class, starting with the introduction before the classes, people will form teams and start to think about and work on a team project. And so the first class, for example, has a team project problem. And so you have to have at least settled on a topic so you can respond in a month after that test is given to you, so that the team does that. And that continues, and we've had, we've done that for degree. We've gone through, we're completing our 11th year, and we have between 360 and 400 students who have passed. And basically we have, this year we started with 44 students, 2 dropped out, 1 because her husband, who was a Marine, was transferred to Okinawa, and she couldn't do the program from Okinawa. And another one who left the company and went to a different company, and they wouldn't pay his fees, so he dropped out. So we've gone from 44 to 42 students this year, which is the largest class we've had. Usually I try to keep the class to less than 40. And once people are admitted, we do go through, we have, I mean, there is the biggest thing maybe is getting admitted, because we have, I don't remember, I think we had something like 68 or 70 applications this year and admitted 44. And it's typical that we'll have maybe 60 applications, and normally we'll admit less than 40. And once we admit them, we think they're qualified. And so far, it's pretty much been the case. If you get admitted and do the work, you're going to complete the program.
Okay,
Does that answer your question, Hans?
it sure does. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have Eric. I haven't talked to you, Eric. Do you have any questions?
Actually, I do, Professor. My question is, when can we expect to hear back as far as like the early consideration? I already submitted.
You
back
submitted,
that.
yeah, I'm going through those now, and I hope to, Stacy can jump in. She's jumped on my back. I haven't, I've read all of them. I've probably read yours, but I haven't really come up with a total assessment. But of the, we have 9 people who turned in things early, and we'll probably within the next week or so get that completed and done. And people, if there's some who are, or I think there's at least 2 or 3 in there that are obviously should be admitted no matter what the rest of the applications look like. And then there the others, most of them, I think probably all of them, based on my first reading, will at least be a candidate,
I hope
but
so.
they may not hear until after we look at all of the applications that come in by the end of, or the 7th of July.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So sorry to keep you hanging, but it's
4 to 6 weeks usually from the end of that submission date, but sometimes things can come early and sometimes they're a little bit after that, but that's a general guideline.
Around when? What was that?
So 4 to 6 weeks, generally,
okay.
that submission closing. So 4 to 6
Okay.
weeks after the May 5th, and then 4 to 6 weeks after July 7th.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
good. Thanks, Stacy. Is that enough? Does that answer your question, Eric?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome. Tad, I see a Tad here. Do you have any questions, Tad?
Yeah, so I don't know. I think previously I asked this question. Traveling overseas, do you think it's going to be an issue? I think even though if I end up coming back, I might not be in San Diego area. I might be around somewhere. So I'm
How far away?
like Maryland area.
Okay, well, we do have students, if it's Maryland, I mean, if you're still in the States, we've had students from Massachusetts, from Maryland, from Virginia, from Ohio, from Nebraska, from Huntsville, Alabama. And I think roughly the program over the years is maybe, I don't know what the number is now, but it's probably 12 to 14% of our graduates are remote students. There is a condition, we're going to be, hopefully in the fall, we're going to be meeting in person again. The last year and a fraction of the year before, we were online, and that then it doesn't make any difference where people are. We're just faces on the Zoom session. But in the past, we do ask people, for example, if you're in Maryland, we have workshops each of the fall, winter, spring, and summer quarter, 4-day long. We ask our remote students to physically come to San Diego, to La Jolla, to participate in those workshops. And in the past, they've all, in the end, said that was a good thing, because they actually, it's better to know somebody by touching them and seeing them than just looking at them through the Zoom lens. And so that's the way it works, Ted. So if we do go on in person in the fall, then if you're in Maryland, you can be in the program. We would ask you to come to the second class of the fall quarter and spend 4 days here working with your team on and getting the lecture from Professor Zach. And that'll happen again in the winter, the spring, and then we finish at the end of August after people work for the summer completing their team projects. We have 4 days, and on the last of those 4 days, we have a session where your senior managers and colleagues and whoever are invited, and each team presents a very top level 30-minute presentation of their work. Kind of in a way, the crude thing is they put together a presentation saying why this program, the project they've been working on, is so important that it should be continued into the future. Whether it is or not is not relevant, but they make the story and they preach that to their management. Have I answered your question, Ted?
Yeah. So is this required attending those in-class lecture for, because
I mean, everything has a reason that it can't be done, but over the years, putting aside the year today, which is all online, in past years, I think we've never had anybody who didn't come to the in-person sessions each quarter.
okay.
It's a good experience to be here and see your colleagues and get acquainted better than online has lots of advantages, but it's not as quite as good, I think, as being there in person.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? Star, have you come up with a question that as we've been talking?
Hi. I'm in the process of filling out my application. Are there things that you look for specifically when deciding who is going to be a good fit?
I think that's a good question. I mean, I think I look for a thoughtful and substantial statement of purpose. Why are you in the program? How is it going to help, and how can you contribute to the program? Because we want people who really care about this stuff. This is not just a routine thing, and so we want that. So I spend in reviewing files a lot of time on the statement of purpose. The other thing that is useful, I like letters of recommendation that don't just say, you know, Star is a great person, put her in the program. I'd like to have the reasons why they think Star or Andrew or whoever is qualified for the program. So the letters of recommendation done properly can contribute a lot to somebody being admitted.
Okay, thank you.
Other things, you know, there's a grade point average, but grade point average, we've learned if people have experience, say we ask for 5, that's a you know, we've had people with less than that, but who did very well, but they had experience like their undergraduate background then, and so excuse me. So we look for results that are going to contribute and anyway, that I guess that summarizes what I want to say. So I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you.
Anybody else? Andrew, do you have a question now?
Oh,
Nope.
I mean, you covered my question earlier, and thanks for that information.
Sure.
I'm looking into the old projects as we speak here. Thanks.
Good. Okay, I'm glad. Do that. I mean, I think they all have a certain quality, and it may be in the eye of the beholder which ones are better than the others. But there is no question that some projects are really quite informative. And kind of my simple measure for that is whether or not their company says, let's do this further, let's carry it on and turn it into a real project in the company. So I would note there have been some Viasat projects, for example, that have turned into real contributions within the company. And there's been a couple Northrop Grumman ones that have too. So, and Cubic, now I think about Cubic. Cubic always, they're all the Cubic ones we've had in the past, I think have turned into things that were carried on within the company. So I think, you know, a measure is whether or not the management of the company thinks this is a worthwhile thing, enough worthwhile that they want to continue it and see if they can make money out of it. John Wade, you're here. John is now our co-director in the program. I don't mean to ignore you, John, but if there's any words that you would like to pass on to these potential candidates, please feel free. So he's only been here for a year. He arrived in March and he's been locked up. He's been locked up, and I don't know, have you ever been to campus? That's a joke question, but anyway, John, do you have anything you'd like to add to the discussion?
I was in campus long enough to move everything into my office. I don't have anything to add except that it's an amazing program. It's an intense program, you know, but it's also, from everything I've seen, has been an extremely rewarding program and has affected people's professional career trajectories in a very positive way. You know, everyone that I've talked to has given me that feedback. So I think it's an amazing program. So if you are interested, certainly apply, and hopefully you'll get in and become a part of the next cohort.
But it keeps you busy. There's no question. As today, there's two other MAS programs that are being described, the wireless embedded systems and the data sciences and engineering. Those are 2-year programs, and maybe a word might be worthwhile there. They're 2-year programs. This is a 1-year program. And my rationale, it's been a 1 year from the start, is that 1 year is more intense. I agree, but I care a lot about what the team project is. And I think it's better to do a team project when things are still fresh in mind. And if you do it over a 2-year program, I just think things fade away. So I've insisted this be a 1-year program. It's legitimately could be called a full-time graduate program, even though everybody in the program has a job and is working. So it does stress, but as I say, I'll repeat, it must be important to the people, because we don't have people who drop out except for reasons like somebody moved to Okinawa or changes companies. Okay, any other questions, other topics, things I should have covered, which I haven't? I can go through a couple of charts to look at what the program looks like, but you should have seen that already if you've looked at any of the materials from the last time.
Mr. Sorensen, I got another question for you.
Yes, Hans.
Is there ever any collaboration with any of the other MAS programs for the capstone projects? Any cross-pollination going on there?
That's a good question, and my answer is that we've never had any real interaction between the other 2 programs, partly because their team projects and their works are spread out over a longer period of time, and it seems very hard to get anything coordinated. So no, there's not been any coordination with West or DSE.
Copy that.
That said, I don't think we could rule it out though. Like maybe if there were like a project where you needed like data sets, I think the data science group works with CAL FIRE. So how, if you know Ilkay Altintas, I believe she does stuff with fires and whatnot. And I know there's a group this year doing stuff with fires. So there might be some in the future if we can work out the collaborative aspect of, maybe working with them for like data sets, data analysis. I think 1 year, how there might have been a group who did ask for some data analysis assistance from DSE, but that was maybe 5 years ago. But I wouldn't totally rule it out, depending on.
That's fair. That's fair. If somebody has a reason, there's not a rule that prevents it. It's just that the timings are different, and it's not been really pushed at all. But if somebody wanted to work with one of the other programs or do something that's somehow related to the other programs and it kind of fit the schedules and the disparities, that would be fine. I don't have any reason to not want to do that, because I want the projects to be as complete and as valid as possible.
And you would have access to, that we have alias lists, like distribution email lists for every cohort. And I think students have access to email their peers using that. So, I could give you the data science alias list for our current cohorts, and you could reach out to them, or if we're back in person, depending on the meal situation, there might be an opportunity to mingle with other programs over breakfast and lunch, depending on, what the restrictions will be for COVID for fall, winter, and spring.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
There's another new face here. Satish, is that, if I pronounce your name correctly? Do you have any questions? No response? Okay, well, maybe.
No, I'm sorry, I was talking on mute. No, yeah, you pronounced my name correctly. No, I don't have any question. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anything else I can talk about that would be useful for you? All quiet?
Does anybody
Well, yep, go ahead.
The application itself, Slate, anything in there? Any questions about timelines?
So the applications are due by July 7th is what we've done now. And then, as Stacy said earlier, it usually takes a month or so to evaluate everything and make the admissions and all that. But Stacy is the one who can answer any questions or help with doing the applications, and she's always very responsive and very good. So if you do have anything you need to talk about in doing the application, then she is the person to get to. And this whole thing, her email address is readily available and should be here. You go to the website, you can find it.
Put it in chat too. One thing I know students, I've seen them hold off on submitting unnecessarily is people sometimes think they need to have all of their like final transcripts in, and they need all of their like letters of recommendation in before they submit. That's not the case. We accept unofficial transcripts just for the purposes of evaluating your application. They can be just PDFs or photos or scanned copies, just so that we can gauge your academic readiness. And then if you are offered a spot in the program, then you will need to provide official transcripts to graduate division. And they do prefer electronic copies if you can get them. But if not, I mean, that's a bridge we cross once you're offered admission. And it's a pretty simple process. And I can help walk you through that, and we can work with grad division. And then the letters of recommendation, what happens in that system is that we require a minimum of 2, but we prefer to see 3, detailed, substantiated letters. And what the system does is once you input your references, email, and name, the system will trigger an email to go to that person. And from there, they'll be able to upload their recommendation letter. There'll be a link that they can click. But sometimes people will see that their reference has not uploaded the letter, and then they'll miss the deadline to submit. You don't have to do that. Submit your application, even if you don't have all 2 or 3, or maybe even if you have 1 letter, just go ahead and submit if everything else is ready. And then we can work with you to get the remaining letters of recommendation. It will be your responsibility, though, to follow up with those recommenders. And you'll be able to see in the system, I think, who has submitted and who hasn't, and then just gently nudge them, let them know that the deadline has passed or it's quickly approaching. But I can work with you on that too.
Okay, I see a new name here anyway. Kiyomi, do you have any questions?
I guess I was in the main room for a while because I wasn't sure if we had broken out yet into breakout rooms. And they mentioned that this was a 2-year program, or I guess were they talking about the other 2 programs? I thought this one was a 1-year, every other weekend plus some 4-day.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Great.
This is every other weekend, and then we have 1 4-day session each quarter.
Yes. Okay. Great. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you want to see the dates that our classes fall on the website, every program has its own section. You can go to the AESE section. With this being a 1-year program, it's a little bit different, but you can still download the calendar for the upcoming academic year. And then you can see when exactly those 4-day workshops fall. And then keep in mind that the classes run from 8 to 5 Pacific time, whereas the other 2 programs, they usually run, I think, around like from 9 to 4:30, but they're 2 years instead of 1.
Yeah.
Each of our class has 32 contact hours at 4 8-hour days. So the schedule for next year is out on the MAS website now. Stacy, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Everything's there.
Good. Okay.
And then Star, I think you said you have a question about transcripts.
Yes. I have 3 degrees. Do you want transcripts for all 3 of those, or would you like just my last master's one?
Graduate division, this is a graduate division rule, not my rule, but they require like every transcript from anything you've ever taken.
Okay.
So if you're having trouble getting anything, I would say start with your master's and then like your undergraduate, but anything else in there, if they come after it, they change things year to year too. So they might not, but my experience the past, 5.5 years I've been in MAS has been, they want every transcript from everything you've ever done. Somebody took like a dance class once and they wanted a transcript, and it's like, but just saying. In the meantime, if anybody wants to take a dance or cooking class before you apply, don't do it. You're gonna have to turn in a transcript for it. But just let me know if you have any troubles getting anything or meeting a deadline, and I can work with you in grad division on that.
Okay, and for my master's, they only send official transcripts by mail, so I wouldn't have anything unofficial probably for the application.
Okay.
That's fine. I think that unofficial transcripts are fine for the application, but it's,
I don't have that.
Yeah. So do you, if it was recent enough, are you able to like log on online and like pull something like a grade? Maybe?
No, I have like my diploma I can take a picture of.
They want the grades. Yeah, if you don't have access to your unofficials, then by all means send an official. Just don't open it. Just have it sent right to graduate division. Because my thing is, we say unofficials at first, just because it's usually easier for people to scan or upload like a PDF. But you're gonna have to provide an official anyway if you're admitted. So if you don't have an unofficial, go ahead and send graduate division the official transcript, and that'll fill in. They can scan and upload that to your application on your behalf. It's just, if you request an official transcript, don't send it to yourself and then open it and scan it, because then you're going to have to request a second copy for the university.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question from Eric here on software. I don't know how you want to take that question.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the question?
Is there any software we should try to get familiar with ahead of time?
Well, that's a good question. One of the things that we do during the winter quarter is basically learn to apply the unified modeling language, and it's worthwhile before you ever get to the fall quarter to have learned. We use the Enterprise Architect from Australian company. What's the name?
Sparks.
Yeah, Sparks Systems EA, and that's a worthwhile thing. We encourage people to get that and use and learn just the mechanics of using that software before we ever get to the winter quarter. So that certainly is one that would be worthwhile. And let's see what else. There's probably something else that would be worth, but that's a central thing. Go ahead.
We provide the license for that for you if you're admitted to the program. So it's not something that you'll need to go out and purchase on your own. I'm not even sure how much that would cost if you.
Thank you. Right.
So before winter quarter, so during fall quarter, if you're admitted, you'll want to familiarize yourself with it.
Right, good. So that's a critical thing, and we use that a lot, and that kind of plays a role in everything you do. So it's good to have, when you get into it and start learning and applying the software, it's good not to force the faculty lecturer, the professor for that, to have to go through just the basics. It's good to have that done. So that's certainly one that I would recommend strongly getting as soon as you decide you're in the program and can use our license to get the software. Thanks, Stacy, for the comment about license. Is that, and if we use other things. We use concept maps, which is it's got a new name, but anyway, we use concept map software starting in the fall quarter, and that's you learn to use that software kind of in an hour or two, so it doesn't require a lot of things, but it's software that we do use in the fall quarter and continue through a lot of the year, but it's overcome and replaced by the UML software when we get to in the winter quarter.
And again, we provide all of your software access, the textbooks, any course materials. Even in the management classes, we do a lot of like MBTI, leadership type assessments, and we provide that for you as well.
Okay, does that answer the question?
Oh,
Yes, thank you.
Is the 5 years of experience a requirement? Is that flexible? I'll let Hal take that if you want to, but I'll also give my perspective. It's not a hard requirement, but it really depends on the full package of the application. So what kind of experience do you bring? What are you doing? What do you want to get out of the program? What do you think you will bring to the program? But it's not a hard and fast rule. Maybe you can elaborate, Hal.
No, I think that's a good start, Stacy. We really do want to have a sense of why you're committed. We've let people in with what I think the minimum is 3 years of experience, and they've done very well. But they had backgrounds that kind of were, for example, I mean, one with only, maybe it was even 2, but it had, I don't know, 12 years in the Marine Corps, leading kind of engineering groups and stuff like that. So that 5-year thing is a soft, it's a guidance, but it's not rigid as long as you have other things that equivocate. We had some people from Arizona State or University of Arizona who had only 3 and 4 years of experience, but they got degrees, and their undergraduate degrees were systems engineering, and they were more than qualified. Did one of the more memorable final presentations of any group in the years. So I don't know, is there any other points, Stacy, you would like me to make?
I think that's pretty good. And it's really just, I wouldn't focus so much on like the absolute year, but more of like the experience that you bring. You know, I've seen people, again, not submit something because they were afraid that they didn't meet the minimum years, but there's so many more aspects of the application that matter more than just the 5 years.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? John? I see your light came on, so I think you were ready to speak.
Well, I'm just waiting to see if they have any more questions, because if they don't, I'm going to start asking them questions.
Okay.
So I'll ask the question. What sort of created your interest in this program? What do you find in the program to be most interesting to you? Oh, we got a question.
I can answer what makes me interested to this program. Originally I start working for Northrop as a system engineer, and then I moved back to San Diego as electrical hardware. And every time when I work with the team, I most of the time, the fact I'd be able to see us like the whole system. So just to give you a little bit of highlight, what I do is we have a bacon system, and we integrate our platform, our payload in the Global Hawk or Bombardier aircraft. So the fact I be able to see the system, even though I'm a hardware engineer, I'll be able to see the system. It gives me a different perspective. And at the same time, we have a small group of hardware individual. We do an internal design review, like FDR, final design review. We present it to the government multiple times to get the budget. Since our program is not program of record, we're not officially getting the budget from the government side. And I be able to involve multiple different aspects of this program. And if I be able to work, or if I learn a little bit more as the system architect, I'll be a great candidate. I'll be contributing a lot more than what I've been doing. So it's very fascinating, and I enjoy looking at the big system architect of the given project.
That's a good response, Ted. We do have people who are, let me make sure that it's clear. This program is really about information systems with the emphasis on the software that requires that, but we don't implement in the program. So people don't have to write software, but it's still about information systems, and hardware just is, all we care about the hardware is the interface that allows us to plug in and allow them to plug into the overall system we're going to design. We have a number of people who are really hardware people. I shouldn't use names, but we have some people who only have done hardware, came into the program a little bit suspicious because they didn't think there's going to be hardware in it. And they're, so far, the ones I've talked to now are leaving the program thinking they've broadened their perspective in a ways which is enormously valuable. And they, at least one of them has gotten a promotion this year where that broadening is going to be a great use in his new job as a project manager. So good comment, good question. Good question, John. Maybe anybody else have a response to John's question?
Yeah, I could go.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a lot of colleagues at AESEq&a that have been through the program, and it was recommended. So that's how my initial interest started. And also with the nature of the program that I work with, if you guys have heard of Keynes, Keynes is C4I system there's so many programs heavily dependent on it. So I deal with multiple stakeholders on a daily basis. And just part of that is trying to break down silos, bridge gaps, and connect groups to look at items and problems from an enterprise perspective. Because what I see most of the time is a lot of engineers and program managers are just stuck with their one program. So I was hoping to get out of the program how to gain leadership skills and able to unify the different groups within my organization and move forward in that sense.
That's a good description. That's why the program exists. You know, I was at UCSD for a long time, left, and for 12 years I was a senior vice president and general manager at the MITRE Corporation back in Bedford, Massachusetts, where we were the systems engineers for the Air Force and doing all their command and control systems and that. And what I learned was that my systems engineering staff knew a lot about a given project development, but they had, as it became clear that integration across systems and their interoperation to get better capability, they didn't have a clue how to do that. And I spent time trying to get them up to speed. I don't think I succeeded, and came back here thinking this is what the industry needs, because the world has moved from projects and narrow things, which for engineers are heavily technology oriented, to ones which are more about how to integrate and make things interoperate, and thinking across the skills associated with not just technology, but across organizations and across people. People's human side of this is a very important thing. You've got to be able to get along with people. So we emphasize that, and that all fits into what you said, Andrew. That's what we're trying to do.
Thanks. Yeah, hope to be able to be part of this program this fall.
Great. Any other responses to John's question? So far, we have been very good. So next, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I'm kind of coming from I guess a bit of an unusual background in more of a land management profession. And, you know, I was initially attracted to the program, I guess in general, by the amount of just systems thinking and the opportunity to really enhance my systems thinking and just dive in deeper into that concept and try to understand it better. I work in an agency that it is very siloed, and I really want to try to, you know, not just enhance the silo I'm in, but really try to break some of that down and enhance collaboration across silos, really integrate, like you're saying. I was attracted by the, I guess, the coordination that you have the program there. Even though it's an engineering school, a lot of the curriculum is business oriented, and there's some collaboration with the business school. I think that's pretty cool.
I mean, half our classes are business school and the other half are engineering courses. And
yeah.
So the business school, I mean, we're being thrown out. We've always had our classes actually in the Rady School of Management, but they're turning where our breakout rooms were over there into classrooms. So we're seeking new facilities, and and Stacy's going to do that all for us. But
Nice.
half the program is for management school courses, and the other half are engineering, because I think that's the only way you get into the organizational and people side of this.
Agreed. And then finally, the last thing is the emphasis on leadership. I think I heard you say one of the previous meetings how, we expect a lot out of engineers, but they're not always the ones stepping up and leading. And I think, that's a skill that needs cultivation, and an opportunity to practice that is a good thing.
Well, I think I'm glad to hear that sort of thing, because one of the other biases that came back was, I think with engineers, if they had a broader perspective, could be much better leaders than the people who came out of business schools. And that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Anything else or any other questions, John? Those are good points. I'm glad to hear them.
I didn't know if the others wanted to respond to that question. I don't know if Kiyomi, it looked like you were blinking on and out. Did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of mentioned a lot of I guess the points already, but I think another thing was just the kind of capstone team project, and being able to I guess I also work at Northrop TAD and I've talked to a lot of people here who have graduated from the program, and they've kind of mentioned how they've gotten stakeholder input from people from like VPs and people from leadership here. And so I thought that that was a very interesting and interactive way to kind of tie both, I guess, your work together and like the school that you're learning together. So I thought that was very interesting. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Kimmy, I'm not you popped in and didn't see the chat about the team projects, because when you join Zoom, if you don't join, the chats kind of disappear. So if you go to our website for AESE, if you click on the section where there's the curriculum portion of AESE, there's going to be a link for capstone team projects. And that will bring you to a Google Drive that you will most likely need to request permission to view. And then I'll grant you permission, and then you can see examples of previous projects.
Oh, really cool. Thank you.
More questions? Oh. I can ask a lot of interest. What do you think systems thinking is? Coming into this program, systems thinking is a pretty nebulous concept to many. How would you describe it?
Or are you going to learn that in the program? Good question, John.
That was a trick question.
Yeah, it is.
I'm managing a team of systems engineers right now, and I think that this system thinking approach is probably just taking the entire system into consideration and making sure that each part is able to interact appropriately.
Good start. That's a good description.
Thank
It
you.
really is critical. Systems thinking is when you really are working the realistic problems of how to integrate different systems, different stovepipes together, and make them interoperate to get things you need done. And you have to think about the whole system then, which includes its interaction with the outside world and potential customers, if that's part of the problem.
I usually think about the relationship between systems and software engineering, design thinking, and systems thinking, using the idea of a smartphone, where the systems and the software engineering is necessary to allow you to produce millions of these a quarter, with high quality. The design thinking is necessary to get an intuitive interface, but it's the systems thinking part that's really powerful. And Steve Jobs was a very, very strong systems thinker. And when he looked at the smartphone, he thought the reasons people want this is they do want to talk, but they also want applications and they want content. And so his response to applications and content was to form an ecosystem of application developers. And with respect to content, to create iTunes and create the relationships with the creators of that content. And those two things are the things that have really made, Apple and the iPhone and that ecosystem so formidable and so powerful. Nokia was the #1 phone maker back in the day, and they didn't understand the importance of those two items, and they never created an ecosystem of application developers. And so they were out in the cold, and they eventually went with Microsoft, the Microsoft ecosystem, and they chose poorly. And as a result, 20% of Finland's gross domestic product is no longer producing so much revenue. So the systems thinking side of things is very, very powerful, and it's really what gives you sort of a long-term competitive advantage. Technology and look and feel just can't do it over the long term, but system thinking certainly can.
Good description.
That Nokia banana phone looked good though.
Pardon?
The Nokia banana phone sure looked good though. You remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's a quick story about Nokia, and I gave a presentation to them and did a workshop on architecture a number of years ago. And we arrived, it was in Helsinki, and the parking lot was huge. I mean, it's a huge plant, a huge parking lot. We were very early. All the parking lot was empty just about. And we parked as far away from the door as you could possibly park. And, I didn't know what was going on. So we were walking, quite a ways to get to the front door. And I asked the Nokia guy who drove me in, and I said, why did we park way over there? We could have parked right next to the door. And he said, we got here early, so we had a lot of time to get into the building. There's going to be some people who are going to arrive pretty late, and they're going to need to get in really quickly to get to the meeting. So we try to save those places for those people who arrive late.
It's a good story.
So that's a very resilient place.
Well, if there are no more questions and things, we're closing in on 6, so we're kind of should be in the home stretch. So I appreciate your being here. I look forward to seeing your applications if this is still of interest to you, and we'll see what the future holds.
It's been a pleasure meeting all of you. Hope to see you in the future.
In person.
In person.
In person for sure. That's right. I like in person a lot better than online, but I've been surprised how well it's gone online this year. So it's a compliment to the class. Okay.
Thanks all for putting on the session.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Special thank you to Stacy. She's awesome responding all that question. I've been stalking her, like getting. I was blocked in some reason on my application. And thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And email me again, staceyw@emd.ucsd.edu if you have any questions. You can also find that on the contact section of the website. All right.
Okay, folks. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, Stacy.
Well,
Thanks, Stacy.